Morning, all, and we are going to discuss news of the day and all the things that are going on around us. Vezina finalists have been announced today, and they're the three that I figured it would be. This is like the worst kept secret of all the awards nominations. Hellebuck in Winnipeg, Vasilevsky in Tampa, Rask in Boston. Could be any of the three. I think Hellebuck deserves it. I wouldn't be surprised if Rask won it. I wouldn't be surprised if Vasi won it. So I'm wearing Tampa. I haven't worn a Tampa jersey in a video in a while. So, yeah, I'll wear Tampa. Because, sure, Vasi. Your guess is as good as mine on that one. Again, any of the three, I could see. I wish I could narrow it down. But I could understand why any of those three goaltenders would get votes. Also announced today, the BC Hockey League, which has a team just down the street in Chilliwack, they will be restarting on December 1st. That's the plan. And so you have to wonder if the CHL itself is going to come out and say they're starting on December 1st as well. And the idea being the season could run from December until May. So hockey being a sport that starts in the fall, apparently not anymore. Now, it may very well be that it's a sport that starts in December, which is late fall, but considered more of a winter month than anything else, even though you don't hit winter until almost the end of it. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes and what the plan is for the BCHL and for other junior leagues to try their best to exist during this time. One thing that I've been following, not reporting on, is the whole Johnny Gaudreau thing. What is with there being this obsession that Johnny Gaudreau's not in shape and he's not ready to go and he's not quite right and he's separated at practice from his line mates and I don't think he looks right. So you get a situation where the general manager, Brad Treliving, has to come out yesterday and go, look, he's fine, he's in shape, zip it. And I find the whole thing to be quite entertaining because again it's the media watching practice and going, well, it's got to be something. Oh, why is Johnny there? And to me, it just feels like everything's just being blown out of proportion. And you get the boss has to come out and say, look, he's fine. He's fine. There you go. There's the story. Nothing. Now, Tampa Bay also in the news today because the New York Rangers bought out Sean Day's contract. He had 1 year left. They said, well, we're going to buy it out. Now, Sean Day, for people who played NHL 15, you know he's going to be a megastar in the NHL because that's how that worked when you drafted him. Sean Day has now signed a contract with Tampa because when the New York Rangers get rid of a defenseman, Tampa Bay is contractually obligated to pick that defenseman up. That's just the way that works. I know Pionk went to Winnipeg. At some point, he will be a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning. You can kind of book that. And I'm only half kidding about that. It is a weird pipeline between the New York Rangers and the Tampa Bay Lightning when it comes to defensemen. So, yeah, it checks out. I don't expect Day to play for the Bolts. I expect him to play for their AHL team. Might spend some time in the ECHL as well. Day's one of those oddities that he, was granted exceptional status and all this, and he looked like he was going to be a top draft pick, and then it just didn't happen. So, yeah, we'll see if a shift to Tampa means things change for him. Now, this was all people were talking about yesterday, so I'm throwing this in here because it's on every site. I don't think the fact that Rogers got damaged in a storm yesterday in Edmonton is a huge deal unless that damage can't be fixed in the next 2 weeks. So, again, this is one of those things, and it's sort of like how I'm not reporting on players not being at practice and being unfit to play in my News of the Day videos, because I don't think it's news until we get there. Until we get to actual hub cities and we get to, hey, this guy's not on the ice, he's probably not going to play the next game. Until we get to that level, I don't really consider it to be big news, just gossip. Until we're certain that Rogers won't be ready for NHL hockey in a couple weeks. It's unfortunate. It's one of those costs that happens when you have a building and you do get storms and floods. And I think they can afford to fix it. I think it'll be fine. So again, yeah, it got damaged in a storm, but it's not falling apart. The roof's not falling down. As 2020 is, it's not that 2020 in Edmonton yet. So yeah, there's that. Mikko Koivu will decide his next season and going forward after the playoffs. That tells me that if Minnesota goes on a nice little run, he may look at that and say, all right, this is a good way to go out. We went on a nice little run. And if they don't make it into the playoffs, if they lose the play-in, maybe he's more likely to say, I'm not ready to hang it up just yet. I've only played a handful of games since March. I've got enough energy for next season. We'll see what Koivu does, but I would think that it's directly going to be tied to how well Minnesota does or doesn't do when we get there. And the last note on the board for today, Jack Dugan has signed a 2-year entry-level contract with Vegas. Again, this happened yesterday. And I looked at that and I went, I could probably throw together between that, Rogers and Johnny Hockey, a video for the end of the day, but no. Save it for the next morning. And so, yeah, Vegas signs another one of those prospects that I think what's going to tell the tale about how well their scouting has worked on the amateur level, it's going to be how these mid to late rounders work out. And it's sort of like how during their first year, I gave full credit to their pro scouting. And I still do. Their pro scouts are fantastic. They are able to find value everywhere. You look at Stevenson, picking up Stevenson from Washington. That is another example of Vegas arguably having the best pro scouts, where they look at a guy at the NHL level and they say, you know what? He's not playing as well here as I think he would in Vegas. This is a guy that we need to target and we need to get because I think he'll fit in really well in Las Vegas. So, again, we'll see whether or not the amateur scouting matches that. And I know there are players like Cody Glass and a couple of others who may push their way onto the roster next year. But I think it's still early for us to say whether or not the amateur scouting is as good as the pro scouting, because the pro scouting has been absolutely fantastic. But there you go. News of the day, even. Let me know who you think is going to win the Vezina Trophy this year. How you feel about minor leagues aiming for a restart in the winter as well. And again, today's one of those days where I'm again seeing a lot of shut her all down. I know Toronto fans are going to want me to mention, so I'll throw this in, that yes, the NHL changed the CBA rules so teams can't have players working out at their official facilities during the offseason because Toronto was doing that, nobody else was. It's weird, but there's ways, not necessarily around it, but there's ways around it. So, they just won't have them work out there. That's my guess. It's not like players don't work out during the summer. I'll agree that it's weird, it's bizarre, but, it's one of those things that when you're doing CBA negotiations, weird, odd things will come up. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.